All right, I'm wakwaba aba Kings Channel 5 GHS so yegu so update you de ekoso e wo oman Ghana mu e wo se onya na ote enti de ekoso bia na yeba mmode ase yeso yebetiem na fe yaba be bom na bibia no enso atumi akwenkan se oye new afe no wahu channel ya bo mmode ase obe subscribe esan se ha e na de no ye de ebro na bo mmode ase notification bell no obe turn no on so de bia brebia no etoma turom na yese watimi anya notification na oso watimi adwene atie nsem a eno nso etumi akoso aya like video no na afefo adwenkere watan ye wasambisa ene watene atene eto aye comment section ho na bibia no entumi enwie peyo kama pa. Well, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ogusu eye adwuma oti petrosu no oyi akwan na wotete ne amaso ne ade a na abusuafo enye Ghana nkwanemum no owekese Africa nkasa nema betimi aye kama ewo eye Africa ne santi osuma aye chese nimpeinfo anase ebi mo se omonko na afi omunkodi sa adwuma no se de be Africa nema mo be mre ede ama eye oman Ghana anase Africa na eye Shamima Muslim afensu so Ras Mubarak enkane eye kumbungu eye MP womo ene kodi sa adwuma no na utimu say yes last year mu August na omo etu anamon omutu omoto efri oman Ghana ma say ya womo enam eye African countries so 31 African countries ena omutimi ekoya omukodi nkita ho na nkita ho ni nyina na se omo pese African countries no eye visa free ti oye Ghana ni okọ eye Mozambique ya eno ase ofa passport na chese wetwa ticket na anase bia wafa ka na wakwa kuwuram na bia no enso atumi aka bia pese okọ bia wa Africa no o se timi ye dem eye visa free na no ena o makwa aba oban no obeboye nchiremu de ekọ so de toto omo ewo kwan mu na mu turu ba bi krampo o se mo we eye denchem nam ba bi wo ho no ma o se o we sonsono ba bi wo ho no ma eye chese nyini nyina o se o we esanse ukokurum a eno eye aduane a omo nso etumi ede no achi borders ni bi wo ho no ma uturu ha o se utueska abuso eno ya amamre e o se etumi ya amamre no ansana omo ma kwan ama o so etumi akọ enafe artists omo ko champagne form am I paying for a handful the Speaker of Parliament ni adia emo edi enkoma said ye beya sa dwumadi no ebetimi awie pay am say by 2030 I was say Africa nyina egitum na sa nema no enso etumi ekoso member mbade with me west yen kwara fie kote Ras Mubarak abro ne nsem trofo ebehia ya obo mumu akwantuo no nsem said ye nema esi eti akwantuo mu nsem.
We are happy to be back home. We left Ghana on the 18th of August last year with one single aim: to travel across the continent of Africa to meet heads of government, policymakers, and to make a passionate appeal for Africa to be visa-free by 2030. And the reason we were pushing for an acceleration to 2030 is because of the prosperity of Africa. Africa has a huge youthful population, and it is very important that we keep the young people in Africa busy through the creation of opportunities. And so we drove 40,000 kilometers, different time zones, across 31 African countries, spending different currencies, eating variety of meals, from python meat, which is normal in Equatorial Guinea. We ate crocodile meat in Kenya, and we ate some worms in Namibia. Now, this is indicative of the diversity of our rich African culture. And so I would say, by and large, we have had a very interesting campaign. It wasn't easy at all. Throughout the journey, we've met with excellencies in Uganda. We met with Yoweri Museveni in the heat of his campaign, who gave us assurances that Uganda would look at this seriously after the elections. In the kingdom of Eswatini, we met with His Majesty King Letsi III, who is the head of state and king of Eswatini. In Lesotho. In Eswatini, we met with the Senate President and the Speaker of Parliament. In the Republic of Guinea, we met with the Honorable Prime Minister Uriba. In Zambia, we met with Her Excellency Nalumango Mutali and several other, representatives of governments. Several ministers of foreign affairs and ministers of tourism. In Mauritania, for instance, they said you can't come in. We're denied visas twice.
Why?
Apparently, Mauritania gets a lot of funding from Europe, from the EU, not to allow nationals of sub-Saharan Africa to pass through their country because it's a migration route. And even when our embassy in Mali, which oversees Mauritania, wrote letters, we just didn't get visas, and that is a tragedy. Things like this made it so difficult for us to move. We got to the border in Cameroon with e-visas, electronic visas. And they said they don't accept electronic visas at the land border. We spoke all the French we could speak, spoke all the English we could speak, they won't budge. And guess what? We had to drive 10 hours. That's like from Accra to Tamale, just to get visas and come back to the border. Just to get visas from Nigeria and come back to the border. And then we're leaving on Sunday. They said, oh, we can't leave on Sunday. We got to the border. They said we can't leave because they don't work on a Sunday. We got to the border in between Tanzania and Malawi, and then it took us a long time to cross because the system was down. So imagine if you had an emergency. In Kenya, the border between Kenya and Uganda, the border post is called the Busia border post. We spent 4 hours, and I was disappointed because this is Kenya. Kenya is seen as high up there when it comes to IT and stuff. But we stayed at the border for 4 hours. And then extortion, of course. One of the things that happened to us at the border between Benin and Togo was that they wanted us to pay money at the Benin side before we would cross. And I said, no. This is ECOWAS. ECOWAS nationals can travel freely to all the ECOWAS countries, without hindrance. Why must I have all my documents? I wasn't going to pay. I said, well, this is a tradition. If you're not paying, you will stay here. It took the intervention of our embassy in Cotonou to drive all the way to the border to talk to them before they would allow us to move. So you can imagine a reporter going to cover an election.
All right, see, we Ras Mubarak. And wachere omo trip omo koye on 31 African countries wade ababe tudwa bibia eji omo feso bibia jese yesi dabi ye mam kwan emam mba Mauritania yesi mamu ngram duru Benin ni Togo omo so de omo hia l'argent ne ade a enti wei enkomo a na yese no so atumi akoso nti omo pese by 2030 sa dwumade no etimi ebaso na eye Africa eye visa free eno eye chese se de ehon komo no enso esiatie but money aso be like video no na afin so no watchere wadwen ewo eye comment section ho meda wase se oje bre ehwe eye video no ye be san yehia ewo ye next video emu bye bye.